want to share my thoughts on why I think that as the human race will not be able to solve the problem of climate change or effectively or limit climate global warming to less than say even 2 degrees. Um, and the primary reason I feel for that failure or handing over a world which is more adverse to live in to the next generation is greed, very simply. Um, there is greed is one of the driving factors which prevents logical, what seems to be logical decision making, even when faced with existential challenges. So if you look at greed, there are various examples of that. Obviously, one example is how much money corporations are already making in producing oil and gas and coal and have already made, and yet it is not enough. Very simply, the reason these industries want to continue is to continue making more and more money, and they're not willing to make or give up any part of that, whatever be the outcome for the planet and the people and the next generation. That's very simple reason. There will be 1,000 other reasons given, like you need baseload power, or you need to have sustainable ways of sustaining the economy. The underlying notion is making more money, and the cost of the planet and the cost of people, so be it, but continue making more money. This is evidenced also in companies and how they have collaborated with various oppressive regimes. You see that in the US at the moment. Some of the biggest companies make massive amounts of profits, oil companies, tech companies, etc. But there's a large number of these huge corporates who are siding with Trump, and their primary motivation is they feel that if the Democrats get in, they will impose higher taxes on these companies. So imagine how much you can be driven simply by greed, that despite making trillions in overall, you still are not willing to pay more taxes, which would reduce your profits a little bit maybe, but still leaving with trillions and billions. And that's how much your greed is. So once again, greed is overriding any sort of what would seem to be a logical step, that give up some profits for the good of the planet, give up some profits to distribute to the workers, etc. It's the same with artificial intelligence, if you see, that it's driven by greed ultimately. That is evidenced in NVIDIA's price. A lot of the prospects of AI currently is fueled by the skyrocketing price of this company, who simply sells processor chips, notwithstanding the fact that selling these processor chips, which are more and more powerful, would require consumption of more power, and how you sort of supply more power in a world which is already struggling to provide baseline power in a sustainable fashion is a big question. Also, driving down the cost of labor is a key motivator for AI. It's much easier to have a software as a service type labor resource, being an AI product that you can adjust up and down without having to worry about workers' compensation, without having to worry about super, without having to worry about safe work practices, without having to worry about bonuses, without having to worry about employee retention. And nobody will come out and say that. But ultimately, the very essence of wanting AI is not to better humanity, but to make more money. It's driven by greed. It's as simple as that. And the same companies who have already made billions on the back of questionable practices, and in various countries where there's lax labor laws, etc., or using cheap labor, are now wanting more. So coming back to climate change and how we react as a race and as nations, um, the overall, if overall, if greed is what is driving corporate behavior, if greed is what is driving individuals who work in these companies to sort of set how they operate, then what hope is there for the planet or the people or the next generation? Um, what we will be handing over to the next generation is a world which will be much worse than the world that we live in, which will have paths which are unlivable, which will have a lot more health consequences. But all of that be damned, because we can't control our greed, and that's why I'm not at all hopeful that any meaningful progress will be made in the matter of mitigating climate change effectively, so that the world that we hand over to the next generation is a better than the one that we live